Even in the age of science and reason, we're all still fascinated by stories of specters from the beyond. Ghosts may be easily dismissed as folklore or superstition in the light of day, but our tune changes in the middle of the night. It's dark, you're all alone, and the things that seem impossible in the sunlight are suddenly very, very real. In our Halloween episode, we're recording at one of the most haunted places in America to ask ourselves, why do we still believe in ghosts? We're digging into the history of visitors from beyond the grave, the potential explanations science has for our favorite scary stories, and why we just can't seem to give up our ghosts. That's what you're in for today on Impolite Society.
You're listening to Impolite Society with Laura and Rachel.
Thank you for playing us in drums. Or is it drums? Or is it the pounding of our heart?
Spooky season, Rachel.
And there's nothing we love more than digging into the taboo. So we thought we would do a Halloween topic. And before we dig into that topic, we should introduce what this show is.
We are Impolite Society, a podcast that tackles the taboo one rude question at a time. And I'm Laura.
And I'm Rachel. And together we are your spooky hosts of the podcast. And we got a spooky topic for you today. And we're just going to jump right in and say it. We're talking about ghosts. Ghost.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da-da. That's Ghostbusters, in case, Rachel, you're too
I'm
young.
an adult virgin. Da-da-da-da-da-da. Vine. TBT.
Okay, fair. But a lot of nerds love the Ghostbusters, but they get laid eventually. I mean, Venkman was totally charming.
Who?
One of the main characters.
Was he a person that lived?
Yes, they all live.
And now they're ghosts.
No. Well, actually, Harold Ramis is dead.
Rest in peace.
R.I.P.
Well, maybe he will come and visit us as we talk about ghosts today. And we have a couple new surprises for you. One, do you hear our voices?
They're beautiful.
Do you hear how good we sound? We are on a multi-year audio journey. And folks, I think we done made it.
Yeah, we have upgraded our mics. We are operating on like professional podcaster level right now.
It's crazy. And it's preposterous that we would have professional level podcasting equipment.
Yet we managed. Somehow here we are.
We have arrived.
Yeah. And so hopefully we're no longer blowing out your eardrums with me being super ass loud.
You're welcome, listeners. And thank you for joining us on that audio journey we've been on. But that's one surprise.
Second surprise.
To accompany the scary good audio that's hitting your ear holes right now, we couldn't think of a better place to talk about ghosts than a haunted house.
Woo!
That's right. We took our show on the road. And Laura, tell our listeners where we are at.
Guys, we are at one of the top 10 most haunted houses in America. And that is the Limp Mansion in St. Louis, Missouri.
That is right. Who would have thought we had one of the most haunted places in America right here in our hometown of St. Louis?
Yay!
And it is a house that has played a part in St. Louis history and continues to play host to the tragic Lemp family.
So the story goes.
And here it is. The Lemp family owned the Lemp Brewing Company, which was started by John Adam Lemp. And he became one of the great beer barons of his time. His family would come to hang out with some of the creme de la creme of the beer families, including helping two nobodies get their brewery up and running. You might have heard of them. Their names were Anheuser and Busch.
Oh.
And he was buddies with another brewer of the time called Pabst.
I mean, is that really the creme de la creme? I think we all know from experience that Pabst is...
Somebody gave it a blue ribbon. So at the height of their success, the Lemp family decided to build this mansion, which would become a beacon of Victorian splendor here in St. Louis.
How many feet ceiling do we have here? I feel like it's at least 12 to 15 feet.
It's got to be a 15-foot ceiling. I believe there's 33 separate rooms in here. We are staying in a 2-room suite.
It's lovely.
It's very nice. Check it out.
On our Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, we do a tour of it. If you haven't followed us on Instagram or on Facebook, join our group. Check out our tour of the mansion. It's spooky. All right, so they built this house. It was big. It was beautiful. They're living the high life.
The Miller high life?
Not that high life. Then the family begins a series of events that would bring in their utter destruction. It begins with the death of the heir apparent. So this is John's son, William's son, Frederick, who is like going to take over the family business, and kaputs, he's out.
What did he die from? Do you know?
Heart condition.
Oh, okay.
He was never healthy. He just kicked the bucket. Then Will just really starts to lose it, and he never makes it back. And adding in the death of his good friend of the Pabst family, he eventually decides to take his own life here in the house.
Just in a room right down the hall from us.
Yes. And he is the first of the family to commit suicide. There are 2 more who will follow in his footsteps before the Lemp family line has ended. So that was the beginning of the tough times, but it would just get crazier from there because there were crazy love stories, melodramatic marriages falling apart.
I think I heard something about an affair of some kind. There are plenty of podcasts on the Lemp Brewery and the haunted nature of this building. So check them out of your haunted, spooky podcast of your choice. We're an awesome podcast. We're not a paranormal podcast.
That's true. That's true. So highlights, Cliff Notes version, there would be 2 more suicides in the space, including downstairs in the office and another one up here as well. And eventually the family would die out. So that is the Lemp family. And this time of year, this joint is jumping. We're sitting in here about to record. There's a tour outside talking that Laura is harassing out of the window.
There's a ghost tour that I'm like creeping out the window.
Laura's flashing them.
I did not flash them. I pretended like I was going to flash them.
The tour guide is like, that is not a ghost, ladies and gentlemen. That is not a ghost. That is a drunk person.
I'm not drunk.
Not yet. Hey.
On my way.
But it's happened. It's happened. There's a party here. There's people like us camped out and staying here.
Yeah, we've got fellow guests that are creeping around the hallways.
Looking for ghosts. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. This time of year, we are obsessed with ghosts. We love ghosts. We love all things paranormal and haunted.
I've been to this mansion many a times for parties, but this is the first time that I've been alone here. Or not alone, but
yeah, I'm here. Or am I a ghost?
Or are you a ghost? Oh, God. This is the time of the year to get into it, man.
And it just raises such a good point. Because why does our belief in these disembodied spirits hold strong? Why in October do we all flock to haunted places and look for ghosts and read our scary stories when the rest of the world is so governed by science, right? And we have this belief in the paranormal, this belief in the things that we can't explain, and it's holding steady while our belief in other imaginary things, is that too harsh?
I mean, unprovable things.
And our belief in unprovable things like religion is fading.
Yeah.
Almost half of Americans believe in ghosts. 45% according to YouGov, which is like a polling service.
Okay.
And additionally, 18% of Americans believe they have seen a ghost.
I've heard many a tale in my everyday life. So yeah, that sounds right.
Definitely. And on the flip side of that, the amount of Americans who describe themselves as Christian has gone down 12% in the past decade.
Wow.
That's rapid.
That is.
And
it's a little upsetting.
It is what it is. It went from 78% of Americans down to 65%.
Wow.
Yes. And that's just here in a God-fearing country. We're very fundamental, very Christian. Over in the more progressive part of the world,
the U of the K,
in the UK, more people believe in ghosts than believe in a higher power.
Okay.
Hey, it is what it is. And that case is also true in Sweden, which is notoriously the least religious country in the world, where 37% of the population believes in the paranormal, but only 2 out of 10 consider themselves to be religious.
So it supersedes religious beliefs.
It does.
So you can say you don't believe in God, you don't believe in the afterlife, but you do believe in ghosts? ?
And that's what it comes down to. We live in an age where science has solved a lot of the great mysteries of the world. We rely on science to grow our food better, to provide medicine, to make us live longer. And in this day and age, we are still shirking what we know of the world to believe in these entities called ghosts. My question for today is, in a time where we know more about the world than ever before, why do we still believe in ghosts? And that is the question we are going to dig into in this very special Halloween special extended episode. It's going to be long.
It's going to be long, guys.
I got thick in the research.
And hey, we spent the money to be here, so we're going to record a long one, y'all.
We got nowhere else to go. We're here. Yeah. We're locked in. We're cozy on a couch. And we're going to talk about ghosts.
Ghosts.
So join us for our ghost adventure after this break.
And I have to say, Rachel, it is nice to be recording in person again.
It is, yes. This is the first time we are recording mano a mano in...
over a year, probably.
Over a year. Since before Impolite Society. This is the first Impolite Society we are recording in person.
Yeah, and it's awesome. It's been a long time coming, and I am a fan of it.
And we're only able to do this thanks to the power of our fancy audio equipment.
Woohoo!
Yes. So,
cheers. Let's give them a cheers.
As long as people have been dying, they've been visiting us from the other side.
Or people think they have.
Or at least we believe that. Ghosts predate the written word and most often appear in the form of ancestor worship and also animism, which, if you're unfamiliar with that word,
I am.
That just means the belief that everything has a spirit. So thinking of the spirit of animals and the spirit of weather and those kind of things.
Not the spirit of the wine that I'm consuming right now.
It has a spirit too. It does. And it wants you to feel A-okay. But that is predating the written word. Once we get into the start of civilization, ghosts actually make a pretty big appearance in the life of the Mesopotamians.
So those real old motherfuckers.
Yeah, the cradle of civilization.
The first ones that wrote shit down.
In some swampy valley. That's where we're from. We swamp people. So it started in Mesopotamia, and these ghosts were called Dijum. And we have a few ideas of where this ancient word came from, but my personal favorite idea was a combination of two words. Ji, meaning black, and dim, to approach. So essentially, a ghost is a dim person approaching, or the dim approaching, dark approaching.
The dark comes for you.
I mean, I think that's a pretty good definition.
That
of a
is pretty
ghost.
good. I don't even know if they pull it out of their ass, but if they did, good on you, because it sounds good.
Yeah, someone's approaching through the dark, the darkness being the other side.
Yeah.
Good job, Mesopotamians. Kudos to you. And these Dijum were created at the time of death, so they did not begin until a person ended. From there, they took on the personalities and the memories of the deceased.
So they weren't actually the person, they took on their characteristics.
Yeah, they were just kind of what was created on the other side.
Okay.
And then these spirits, or these Dijum, would travel to the underworld to live nearly an identical life to the living. So the afterlife mirrored our life here on Earth. Which, wouldn't that be the biggest fucking cosmic joke? That you're like, oh, I'm dying. I can finally rest. And nope. Just kidding. Joke's on you. Back to the barley field, you Ramsey. You got to get back out there and get back to work.
Imagine if that was our afterlife. Like, you have to go back
into
and just
a cubicle.
Yeah, work in a cubicle for the rest of your afterlife. Click, click, click.
Oh, you're having a
best regards, aka
per
fuck
my
off.
Last email.
Yeah, all that shit.
Oh my gosh.
No, thank you. No. That's a really dismal afterlife.
Hey, but that means there's afterlife podcasts.
Yeah, you have to find your joy where you can find it in the afterlife. You're dead and you're like, God, I just need something to make me feel like I'm making an impact.
I'm going to need a creative outlet in my afterlife. Let's hope that that's not the case.
Let's hope indeed. Hopefully the Mesopotamians are wrong.
Well, because here's another thing about the afterlife that kind of sucks. It involves a lot of suffering.
God, doesn't life include enough?
It's a mirror. You suffer in life, you suffer in death. The only way to make it better is if you have kids, and if your kids leave food out for you on the front porch. I don't know where they put it.
Is that like Saint Nick? You put it in their shoes?
Yes, yeah. You have to give a food offering to your deceased loved ones. But the good news is, if you forget, they're very forgiving, the Dijum.
Well, that's nice.
Of course, yeah. They're understanding, and if you don't and they get hungry, they'll just only come inflict illness and misfortune on your house. They're really chill.
I get crabby when I don't get fed, so I get it, Dijum.
Yeah, that's fair. So make sure you leave out your kibbles for... It's like some ghost
in
cat.
your shoes,
yeah,
on your porch. We're mixing a lot of metaphors right now.
Here we go. But the moral of the story is feed your dead people. That's the moral of the story. And ever since then, ghost and the idea that the spirit or soul is separate from the body and continues on after our flesh prison dies, that's existed in the ancient times as well. And it's even made its way into the Hebrew Bible. In the book of Samuel, King Saul gets a witch to summon the soul of King Samuel. That was
the senior.
Yeah. Saul was the one summoning Samuel, who's the book is named after.
Oh, okay. Not his dad, but like the big special guy.
And we just like totally glossed over the fact that a witch was involved. The Bible be crazy.
It really is.
God, to live in those times. Thank God we don't. Back to the barley field. Ghosts, as we know them today, were actually brought to us by the Victorians.
Like the house that we're in right now?
Yes, which I don't know if we call them Victorians if they're in America. My sister pointed that out to me. She's like, I don't think you call them Victorians if you're in America because we don't have a queen.
Good point. We do not have a Queen Victoria. I mean...
So what do we call them instead? The industrialist?
Yeah,
the
maybe.
guilds? The gilded?
The industrialist sounds about right. I mean, early 1900s, right? Late 1800s, early 1900s. It's when this fad was taking place.
Yes. And the fad that they brought to us was called spiritualism. And it took the world by storm. And it took ghosts to the next level. Not only did it say that ghosts are continuations of people, but they're not frozen in that moment. They're not just going to the underworld and living their life as they were. Their spirit continues to grow. And through that logic, ghosts are able to learn or provide insight and shared knowledge with us, the living.
And that makes sense to me in the time period. As the world, we industrialized, we got a little bit more civilized, we got a little bit more scientific. There's this regression into spiritualism, mysticism. It's like a call back to the old days.
Oh, I can definitely see that. So all these machines aren't going to provide you the answers. It's the spirits of your loved ones. It's your ancestors. That's a very astute observation. And it's about time these assholes start contributing because we've been feeding them for the last few millennia.
You gotta work, bitch. Give me some advice.
Come back and tell me what I'm supposed to be doing about my job or my husband.
Because we're all now in the grind and we have no idea what the hell we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Hey, great grandmother, tell me how I get my corset 1 inch tighter. I need to know. I'm about to turn 20 and I don't want to be an old maid.
Oh no, I'm not married. I go vault.
My debut was a total waste of time. But then again, this idea of ghost being this kind of advanced or this higher state of being that we can call on to help guide us or answer us, that's a very Western way of looking at ghosts. And ghosts are very diverse. They appear in cultures around the world. I don't know if there is a culture that does not have some kind of ghost lore.
I mean, when you read about cultures in general, there's always an act about how they treat their dead or how they treat their dead spirits. From my time in funeral service, you look at death culture across the globe, everyone has one, and everyone feels some sort of repercussion from the dead.
Even Neanderthals used to bury their dead and had like ceremonies around passing their dead on. So that's how deeply ingrained this is in our species. So there's no surprise that ghosts appear in many cultures. And here are some examples of ghosts from around the world.
Where in the world did this ghost come from?
Where in the world are all these active dead folks?
That's all right. Just try to overdo me with your great music. That's fine. Okay, continue.
No, I like to make up lyrics.
She just likes to sing.
So one of the more popular or more famous ghosts comes from Japan.
Everyone loves Japan.
Harajuku.
Sorry.
That was good. Oh, okay. There's a Japanese ghost called the Yurei, which is a spirit of a person who has not received the proper funeral rites, they died violently, or they have a desire for revenge, aka unfinished business.
They're pissed. They did, and they're pissed about it.
Yeah, or I mean, it could be love, too. You could be very strongly in love and not ready to let go because of that. Your business is unfinished.
A business is unfinished. That's the most mush-mouth rhyme.
The business is unfinished. So they'll continue, and these ghosts will continue to come back, and they'll spook you until they're officially laid to rest or they finish their business. Also, fun fact about the Yurei, the more poor you were or the harder your life was, the stronger the ghost is.
Wah, wah.
The meek will inherit the earth, baby.
So if you're poor, the stronger the ghost is?
Yeah.
And they haunt your family?
No. The stronger you are as a ghost. So the more you've suffered as a person, the stronger your Yurei is when you come back.
So you can haunt everybody.
There's no queens running around as Yurei. You're somebody who suffered.
Yeah, but if you only torment your family because they ain't giving you enough paper money or whatever.
I don't think they're limited to tormenting family.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, then good.
That is come around. They walk the earth. They're spirits.
Okay.
That's what they do.
Sorry.
Along the same lines, there is a Indian word for a spirit called a bhoot or a bhuta.
Bhuta.
And it's usually the ghost of a deceased person who wasn't able to make it to the next step of their journey. And I say that as a very ambiguous way because there's a lot of religions in India and I'm trying to be fucking inclusive.
They're Hindu, Muslim, and a little bit of Christians, right?
Buddhist.
Oh, in Buddhist.
Some of them
obviously.
are coming back as reincarnations. Some are going to
Good for them.
Another place. Some are going somewhere else.
They're going all over.
But if you can't go, you
Join
come
'em.
back. And you're a boot. There you go.
A boot.
And some cultures even have animal ghosts. The Humor people of Sudan, they hunt giraffes and they like to chow down on giraffes. And part of the ceremony around eating and consuming the giraffe is believing the ghost of the giraffe that they've killed comes back to visit them.
Well, that's just cool. Everyone likes a giraffe.
Yeah. You get a full belly and you get a giraffe hanging out with you.
Win-win.
Is there really anything better?
There's no downside.
Oh my gosh. Give me more giraffes. The only thing that could have been better is the giraffe is alive and maybe they had a Burger King instead. We don't want to kill giraffes. That's a sad thought. But anyways, so obviously ghosts, they are ingrained in who we are. They've been a part of us since our very beginning. And that makes me want to know, Laura, do you believe in ghosts?
I do. That's not to say I believe every ghost story I hear, because I don't. I think they are fun. Whenever anyone tells one, I'm very, because it's just fun. But I do believe in ghosts.
I do.
I do. What about you?
You know, this has been the age-old riddle. I love the concept of ghosts. I'm staying in a haunted hotel. I have been on that tour that was standing outside of the ghost.
I have been on
mansion.
a ghost tour in New Orleans many a time.
Yeah, everywhere we go, we do a ghost tour. I've done a ghost hunt in the Missouri State Penitentiary.
Ooh.
I've gone to Alton, Illinois, which is one of the most haunted cities in America.
I've heard that.
Ghosts were a huge part of me growing up. I even have a freaking ghost hunting device here that we ran around with us.
Which you will see on our socials.
Yes, it's called a K2 meter, and it measures electromagnetic fields. And this is all to say that I enjoy ghosts, but I don't necessarily believe in them.
What do you mean necessarily?
They're fun, and it's fun to believe in it. But in the daylight, in a rational frame of mind, I don't believe in ghosts. I don't think they're real.
Have you ever heard a really great ghost story from someone that you love and care about and trust?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, I'll tell that story later. And
Oh
I'll
my
tell
gosh.
you why I more definitively believe in ghosts.
Well,
Woo! Stay tuned for the next section.
I am excited about that because, yeah, my family, we are firm skeptics. I don't believe anything anybody says to me. So I take it with a grain of salt. Born and raised in Missouri, the show me state.
I'm definitely a skeptic as well.
And that's all to say that while I am like pretty firm and grounded in logic and reason, when the sun is up, the game changes after sunset.
Things change when it gets dark.
Yeah, sitting here in this dimly lit hotel room with our fake flameless candles.
Flameless limp.
That all starts to change. And why is it that I'm so fascinated and can write this all off as like a quirk of humanity in the daytime? But here we are in the dark, alone in this old house with its tall ceilings and long shadows being cast about. And that skepticism I have slowly starts to fade away. So what is it about ghost and nighttime? Statistically, it's day as much as it is night in the grand scheme of things. So why is it that we see ghosts at night?
There's definitely something going on. Let me just say this. I've never had an anxiety attack during the day. That's all I'll say.
There's something about night.
Mm-hmm.
I remember learning in high school about the witching hour, and at 3 o'clock at night, in the dead of night, that's when the spooky stuff goes down.
Bong,
and
bong.
Ooh, spooky, spooky. We should have recorded this at 3 a.m.
I'm
the alarm
way
clock.
too tired for that shit. I am out at 3 a.m.
That's the thing, is then the reality starts to set in and you're like, oh no, I got to get up for work. Yeah, that's a good way to pull yourself out of being scared by a ghost. Just think about your fucking day job. And you're just like, oh man, I got to do some spreadsheets and send some emails. That'll take
Fuck off, ghost. I got to go to sleep.
Yeah, that'll take the magic right out of the world.
It's so true.
So next time you're scared, think,
Spreadsheets.
per my last email.
Regards. Laura.
But until then, we are not the only people who have an urban legend around the dead of night. And this really surprised me. Not going to lie, when I was reading about the Urays, there is part of the lore that says you are most inclined to run into one between 2 and 2:30 a.m. because that's when the veil between our world and their world is the thinnest.
What do you think that is? Do you think that there really is something going on there? Or do you think it is like something about the human psyche that's been up for so long that it breaks down along that time?
That is actually a really good point. So if you're up until 2 in the morning, you're probably stressing, you're probably sleep deprived.
You're tired, yeah.
And you're maybe going to start hallucinating. That's definitely a fair point. I think it's maybe a combination of the dead of night, the spookiest time. It's the middle of the night, the farthest from the light. And then you add on the sleep deprivation to it. I believe that's probably a very good combination towards creating ghost.
Yeah.
This is a thread that's woven through humanity and Western culture. As far removed as you can get from it, while still being in a modern world, is probably Eastern culture. And the fact that we both share this almost specific time frame, that is when it's the spookiest, it speaks to the power of
something.
Yeah, the fear of the dark.
Yeah.
But why is that? I went down the rabbit hole on this, and it's not directly ghost related.
Oh, did you pull a Laura?
I did.
You went down the rabbit hole?
I was like, I got to get to the bottom of it. And this is probably my favorite research I've done. So we're going to get into why are ghost and night tied together. Well, the first reason is that the dark be scary.
There is something primordial about it. Kids are afraid of the dark, and I think even adults are afraid of the dark. Though they've kind of rationalized it, there's still something different that happens at night in your body or when you're walking the street. I can breeze down any street during the daylight and I'm boop-a-doop-a-doop-boop-boop-boop-boop. And at night, I'm like clutching my purse. I'm doing the Wolverine thing with my keys.
You are in fight or flight. You're ready to go.
Yeah.
And it's really not hard to imagine why that might be, especially from an evolutionary biology standpoint. It's not a big mystery. The dark held a lot of the violent threats to early human, from large predators who might want to snack on us to just the theft of our most dependent on sense, which is our sight.
Yeah.
In the dark, we can't see. Not only might there be a predator out there waiting to take you, but you can lose your way and end up just wandering on your own.
Or you can just trip on a stray route. Like, we're such sight-based organism. And when that is not even gone, but impaired a little bit, your hackles are a bit up.
That's very much at the core of it. And you can't see danger, whether that's a misstep or a lion waiting to consume you. This fear of the dark is an ingrained vestigial piece of our earlier humans that, you know, we most often experience in childhood, right? Because they are kind of pre-socialized.
They don't have the rationalization that we as adults do.
Exactly. So they can't think their way out of it. They're just kind of what humans were meant to be. Think about like several thousand years ago.
Yeah.
Everybody's a kid running around.
You're like, ah!
Yes. But that's actually a good point, the screaming, because it's not necessarily panic when we're in the dark. A study done at the University of Toronto found that our fear of the dark is less panic and much more an anxiety that builds over time. And everybody can relate to that. When you're a kid and you wake up in the middle of the night and you hear a noise and it starts off being okay, and then it builds and it builds and it builds.
I definitely have been there, whereas a kid, I was convinced that there was a Freddy Krueger in the corner of my room. For some reason, I didn't run.
Oh, gosh.
I was a little bit too old to be believing that, but I still believed it.
Hey,
and what did I do? I pulled my sheet over my head. It's something about that hour. You believe it, but you don't believe it, and
you're still, because if you were really in danger, and this
you
was
would
something,
run.
Yeah, you would jump out of bed. I mean, that's a story that my mom tells. You hear the noises in the night, and you obsess over it, and you toss and you turn, and you listen for the follow-up noise.
Yeah.
One night, she woke up and heard like a banging. And it was a very real banging. And instead of tossing and turning or hiding under the covers, she jumped up and ran to it.
Yeah.
It was my dog. He got stuck in the cat door. He was trying to go into the basement.
Exactly. You know what's real and what's not, but there's some sort of in-between state that you live in when it's that witching hour.
It's funny that we talk about the anxiety building, because to me, it's like any other need. So hunger doesn't just like flash hunger. Cold doesn't just hit you as boom, cold. It builds and builds and builds as just kind of a nagging way to drive you back to safety, whether that's a warm place or getting food or the security of being in a group somewhere with a light.
Yeah.
It seems very much programmed into us, and then we just kind of ignore it.
It's not a click, it turns on. It builds and builds and builds.
Yeah,
and then you're like,
the need gets more intense.
And then you have to go.
Which is why at 2 a.m, 3 a.m, that anxiety's been building up for 6 hours at that point.
Yeah.
That might be why it's considered the most spooky time. Because right after that, you get the little glimpse of sun on the horizon and you know everything's going to be okay. Because I don't know if you were like this too, but when I was a kid, if I could just make it to 4, if I could just make it to 5, I knew I was going to be okay.
Yeah.
I just had to make it through that deepest, darkest part of night.
Again, the anxiety attacks. I had a time in my early 20s when I would have the worst panic attacks at like 2 and 3 in the morning. And once the sun peaked, I could go back to sleep.
Because you knew you were safe. Yeah. And one of those things that we talked about, the anxiety that's building and it's driving you back somewhere. Where is it driving you? And we talked about light. We talked about warmth. We talked about security. And to me, this kind of accumulation of that is a very specific place. And I think it ties into Ghost, which we've escaped Ghost a little bit. We started talking about something else, but we're going to go back to Ghost because ghosts just don't exist. You don't just say, oh, there's a ghost there. That's a ghost. Okay, let's move on. There's always something more to it. And it's found in all the ghost lore around the world, even going to the Yurei in Japan and to the folks to the Boots in India.
The Boots.
There's something going on there. There's anger. There's love. There's unfinished business. Behind every ghost is a story. That's what makes Ghost so powerful and what links Ghost to the night, because there is nothing more human than sitting around a fire at night. And I fucking love campfires. I've never feel more human than when I'm sitting around a fire with people I like and like talking and just relaxing. You feel safe, you feel secure, you feel connected, man.
There is something going on in that vicinity, being around the bonfire and the light on your faces, and there's this close-knit group and you feel secure. But there's also that sense, because when I experience campfire, I'm usually camping.
Yes.
So it's like you have this close-knit experience, but there's like danger all around, like darkness all around where you are. So it's like this is where it is, and literally on your back is danger.
But as long as you're staying where you are, you're safe.
Yeah.
You're happy.
Yeah.
And what goes great with a campfire? Stories. So not only do campfires feed our physical needs, they fill that need for warmth. They cook our meat to fill our bellies. And they provide that light so we don't trip on roots. But they also feed our souls. And they feed our social and spiritual side. So research published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Science found that the campfires at the end of the day is where songs, stories, and even human relationships began. The bonding that makes us care about whether people live or die. Yeah, that too. I'm sure the other stuff happened during the day as well. The anthropologist in this study lived among a Bushman tribe in Botswana, and she recorded conversation topics to compare how they were different in the day versus the evening. So during the day, 3/4 of conversation focused on work-related topics as well as gossip.
So, like business. We got work business. We got social business.
We got things we need to get done. How can we collaborate? How can we work together? But that all changed at night. Around the campfire, more than 80% of the conversation centered around singing, dancing, spirituality, and stories about people they knew.
So better than gossip. This is like straight storytelling. Like,
yeah, those kind of conversations. And it was very different than the day. And here are some reasons why. First, the evening campfire brought everyone together, regardless of age, gender, any other division. During the day, everybody's working on different stuff. At night,
you ain't got nowhere else to be.
You're literally around that fire, staying
getting
warm.
Those nom-noms.
Yeah, getting some snacks, getting your soul fed. You got nowhere else to go. Another interesting point was that the dimmed light dulls body language, so we become less aware of how other people are responding to us and also lose a little bit of our own self-awareness.
I really like that. And that makes a lot of sense to me because that hyper awareness in the daytime, you can see, that twitch of the eyebrow or that flip of the wrist. Like, what does that mean? But in the nighttime, you're not so in your head about that kind of stuff.
Because you can't see it. You don't have to worry about every time somebody looks kind of weird at you.
Yeah.
I think that one totally struck me and also surprised me.
Yeah.
Yet, while you can't always see the details, what you can see in the dim light is the exaggerations of emotions. It made the stories come to life in the exaggerated facial emotions.
Yeah. The reason why you turn the flashlight underneath your face to tell the scary story. Like you get the arched eyebrow and like everything is exaggerated when you have that underlighting that changes the way your face looks.
I didn't even think about the flashlight, but it totally makes sense. Do you think that people were like, I got to put this flashlight under my face to mirror a fire, or that somebody just did it and they like, this is perfect?
It just struck a chord.
And as well as all those social components, our imagination, as we talked about, also comes alive in the night. When we don't know what's out there, our big old sexy brains get to working and we fill that darkness with things. Our brain tries to guess, even if it's nothing. So all those pieces together is what make the campfire so sacred and so special, and the stories that are told there so damn compelling and so damn real.
Yeah.
And without these stories, ghosts cease to exist. The first ever ghost story goes back to a friend of ours. His name is Pliny the Younger.
Related to Pliny the Elder.
It was his little fuckboy.
Literally no joke.
Definitely. I don't know if he had any interesting ideas about menstrual blood.
Probably wasn't a fan of it, just like his buddy.
Yep. So this guy, the Younger, he recorded the first notable ghost story in some of his letters. And the ghost story itself featured ghosts appearing in his bedroom wearing chains.
Jacob Marley.
Does that sound familiar? Marley and Marley. Whoa. That's right.
Christmas Carol.
Isn't that crazy? Every story's been told, guys.
Truly.
And these ghost stories have been a part of human history ever since, on a grand scale, like the Christmas Carol, and in our personal anecdotes. So here we are. We're safe and cozy, sitting next to each other in the warm glow of our laptop, maybe not a fire, but this feels like the right setting. Do you have any ghost stories, Laura?
My most compelling ghost story personally is me being terrified of a balloon that was floating in the dark. And I was certain for at least 2 minutes that it was legitimately a ghost.
Was it like half helium? So
Yes.
it's like hovering at human height?
Exactly.
That's a cruel trick of the universe. That would scare anybody.
Yeah, scared the shit out of me. But the reason why I was so convinced it was a ghost was because this was in Austin's bedroom in his mom's house in the basement. And the most compelling ghost story I've ever heard came from my husband and his best friend. So they were in high school, like senior year. They were downstairs playing video games, dicking around. And his mom had always said that there was something spooky about the house and vague tales of ghosts. But they were both sitting there playing games, and they saw somebody come around the corner, look at them, and like start the way you do when you see someone you're not expecting.
Yeah, like, oh,
start.
what are you doing? You're
and
still
then,
down here playing video games?
Yeah, turn around and walk back down the hallway. And Austin, as he relates the story to me, because this was before I knew him, that he stopped and was like, holy fucking shit, what just happened here? Did I hallucinate that? And Steve was like, what the fuck was that? They both experienced it at the exact same moment. And then Steve was like, all right, I'm gonna go home now. What the fuck?
Ash was like, don't leave me.
Yeah, exactly. And so they both tell that story. And I don't know that I would believe in ghosts 100% if it were not for that story, because these are two people that I'm very close with and trust very much. The fact that they both saw this thing at the exact same time, it can both speak to it. And they were also not drug people.
Oh, yeah.
So they weren't drunk downstairs. They weren't high downstairs. They were both two completely sober individuals that saw something that were like, what the fuck?
What did this man look like?
Tall. Honestly, I don't know this particular description. Something about a hat.
A dapper gentleman, maybe?
A dapper gentleman, exactly.
A dapper gentleman in the basement of a house in Florissant, Missouri.
Yes. It used to be a farmhouse.
Oh.
It was converted and then expanded.
What year was it built?
I don't know.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. Because there's plenty of theories of what it could be, even if it wasn't somebody who ever lived in that house.
Oh, we'll get to those.
We will get to it. That's a good ghost story. That's not overdone. It's just that they shared it. They both saw it.
Yeah.
That led some credibility to it.
Exactly. What about you?
So I don't know if I have a specific ghost story, but I lived in a haunted house for a year of my life.
Which haunted house?
It's in Kirksville, Missouri. It was the oldest house in the city, called the McGovern Mansion. At the time, it was rented by my sorority, and every year, 5 unlucky sophomores got to live in it.
You were one of the 5.
And because I like ghosts, I was like, fuck yeah, sign me up. It's going to be an adventure. So there's a lot of stories that happened in there. Somebody coming home after a night of drinking and finding all the cabinet doors open, closing them, going to bed, coming back out.
Just like out of drunk people going through looking for some snacks.
Well, she closed it, went in, came back out. They were open again.
How long of a time are we talking?
Not long.
Okay.
And
right. Suspicious.
Yeah.
It's sus.
My friends that stayed in there with me when I lived there, they just reported feeling very uneasy. One girl said she felt somebody climb into bed with her and like cuddle with her.
Ah!
She claimed it was a small girl.
Ah!
That detail is relevant because I got that little girl on audio recording.
What?
I do. Have I not shared this with you?
No.
I'm going to play it for you here in a second.
Oh, jeez.
But we believed that there was 2 ghosts in the house. Upstairs was somebody who was a little bit creepier. And
yeah, I bet he's upstairs in the girls' bedrooms.
Well, yeah, the girls who stayed up there would report feeling somebody watching them at night. And one said that she was like, I can't roll over. I can't roll over. Because she knew that if she did, she would see somebody there. And I remember feeling that as well. And then one of the interesting circumstances was right when I first met my husband, we were dating. He stayed over. We were college. We were adults. And
stayed over.
He did. And he talked in his...
Quote unquote.
Quote unquote. There was nothing in quotes about it. He stayed over.
After you fucked.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Good. All right.
He stayed over and he talked in his sleep. And he was the most rational. And he knew this house was to be haunted, supposedly haunted. He will never admit that he believed in ghosts. One morning he woke me up sleep talking. This is what he said, verbatim. The ghost doesn't watch you as much as the other girls. And I said, what? He repeats it. I said, Daniel, what the fuck? What do you mean by that? He's like, the ghost just doesn't watch you as much as the other girls. And I said, how do you know? He responds, footsteps in the hallway.
Jesus Christ.
I was like, why does the ghost not watch me as much as the other girls? And he's like, I don't know. I think it's because of me. Because the other 2 girls were single. Ooh. And I had a man in my room. And the dog. I think Cody also might rest in peace.
There you go. Cody,
rest
in peace.
But he also acted very fucking weird in the house. He would just go hang out in the basement by himself. He had horrible anxiety in that house. It was crazy. The upstairs ghost was the spooky one. The downstairs ghost was the little girl, which I had a roommate.
So he would go downstairs and chill out with the little girl.
Maybe Cody. He went to the basement with her.
Yeah.
Who knows? But there was a little girl. A psychic came through and said that there was a young girl stayed there. They said she was a slave. The house was built after slavery ended. It wasn't a slave.
Get your facts straight.
Yeah, come
Fake
on.
psychic.
Don't even try. But one of my roommates that said that the girl slept with her. They felt like they saw her. And in my college ghost hunting days, which, of course, I had them because I liked ghosts. I stayed there.
I mean, you got the ghost hunter tools.
I went back to that house after I moved out because, ladies and gents, I also had a radio show. I told you I'm an experienced podcaster.
You did, yeah.
It was a
college radio show.
Late night conspiracy and paranormal talk show. And so for fuel for the show, I went back to the house and I talked to some of the girls who were living there. And I had my recording on. And I recorded this.
Oh, I can't wait.
Tell me more about what's going on.
Well, usually, like, I remember one time this didn't happen to me, it's happened to Megan. I remember one time this didn't happen to me, it's happened to Megan. I remember one time this didn't happen to me, it's happened to Megan.
I got chills.
I got chills listening to it for the first time. I was like, what the fuck? There was one other person in the house. You could hear her walking away with the dog earlier, but I know that was my best friend in college's voice. I would know if she was singing that. It is clearly a young girl singing, and we didn't hear it at the time. And when I heard it on the audio, I literally had chills.
That's freaky. I didn't know you were going to pull audio out in this.
Oh, I honestly forgot about it until I was doing the research for the show. And I was like, wait a minute, Rachel.
You have ghost proof.
You magnificent bitch. You have a EVP. And I tweeted at Dave Tango, one of the original ghost hunters, and you did not respond. Dave Tango, I had a crush on you. I don't know why. He was just the slightly least unattractive ghost hunter. And I was like, yes, we are a match made in heaven.
Ghosts are creepy enough, but the thought of ghost children really creeps me out. That's so sad. The thing is, like, anything adult, it's like whatever happens, you probably deserve it. Even if we were good people, just the horrors of the earth come with you. You know what I mean? But like kids,
But here's something that'll make you feel better. There's a school of thought around ghosts that says that they're not always imprisoned. Some of them go back to the time in their life where they were the happiest. So they choose to spend eternity in their childhood.
They relive those happy. Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, and does that not seem like the closest thing to heaven that we might encounter is just being a kid again for eternity?
That's a good point.
I don't think that little girl singing, she wasn't there because she was stuck. She was just living her life, singing to herself.
Oh, children, they are really the best among us. Save the children.
Save the children's spirits.
Save the children's
But wouldn't it also make you feel better, though, that if Charlotte lives to be 90, 100, whatever people are living to in the future, and she chose to come back to when she was a kid, living with you.
You're gonna make me cry.
I think it's beautiful.
Legit, you're going to make me cry.
I think it's beautiful. Just trying to see it on the other side. So these experiences we've had, whether we've heard about them from a friend, whether we've experienced them, recorded them, are they the product of the dark, of staying up late and letting those worst fears creep into our heads through our vivid, big, sexy human brains and imaginations?
So sexy.
Or are they real? And if they are, what are ghosts? Here are a few of the possibilities as outlined in A Natural History of Ghosts by Peter Underwood.
So it's acknowledging the fact that there are all these experiences that people have had all throughout time. And they're saying there's something going on here.
Yes.
Now, it might not be what we think it is. It might be that, or it might be something else.
Yeah, this is really just looking at, like, what are ghosts? What could a ghost be? We have all these different kind of ghosts, and they're trying to use kind of like the nature and the way of the world to explain it. So here are the different kinds of ghosts. The first is that ghosts are just straight dead people. And in Peter's book, he calls them historical ghosts, which are, functioning people or the spirits of people who are left behind. And there are two kinds here. One is intelligent, right? So this is the full spirit of a person that is complete with their personality. This is what we most often think of when we think of ghosts. We think of somebody who's trapped, right? Who can experience the world and interact with us.
So that's William Lemp who's wandering these halls
as we speak.
Now.
Yeah, he's out there giving a tour. Hi, this is my house. So that second type of historical ghost is crisis, or spirits of the recently departed. So these are folks who have died, who are visiting their loved ones to say goodbye. They're usually very aware of their situation. They're aware that they died. And, the most classic example of this is somebody saying, oh, I saw Josephine sitting on the edge of my bed last night, and they wake up and they find out that she passed in the night.
Okay, so they're like making their rounds before they make it up the final ladder.
Crisis, right? So something bad happened and they're just trying to reach out to somebody and then they move on.
Think a Hill House.
The ghost of yourself in the future.
Yeah, that was horrifying. If you guys haven't watched The Haunting of Hill House, you should totally watch it.
Yeah.
The hanging lady.
Ugh, stop saying that.
That was a horrifying moment in that show when you realize that it's her haunting herself. It blew my mind.
That's good writing. That is good.
I'm telling you, modern artists are making television.
They are. They sure are. Yeah. So another kind of ghost that is not intelligent, is not something that can interact with us, is called mental imprint manifestations. Or often in your ghost hunter shows, they're called residual hauntings. This is the idea that we can create a psychological imprint, or kind of like our energy can create something that we leave behind. And this isn't a type of ghost. It's not really a person. It's not sentient. It's literally just a footprint we've left.
So it's like emotional energy.
It is, yes. And so it's people interacting a very intense scene, and it's just on a loop. But you don't have to make that face, Laura, because they're not there. It's not somebody experiencing it. It's just what is left behind.
Your output left it there. So it's not someone who's trapped in that moment of like being murdered. Or,
no.
Whatever. It's just like this, whatever it was.
Had such an impact.
So the spirit or whatever has moved on, but that whatever's happening.
It's not the soul of a person. It's just leftover energy. And, it plays back as if a loop. And on the Alton Ghost Tour, there's a stop that is described of a printer, a newspaper guy. What do you call that? A news person? He ran a newspaper and people didn't like it for some reason. It's during the Civil War. Everybody was pissy. Kind of like now. And the people came in the middle of the night and they burnt down his press. And he was in there. And he was like climbing onto the roof. And he died in the fire. They say you can see him. I think he went into the building to try to save something. I don't know.
Fuck that. Unless it was a child. Fuck it.
Yeah. So they see that playing over and over again.
Yeah, but how do they know it's not them?
Suffering.
Trapped in that horrible moment.
There's something called the stone tape theory, which this is fascinating to me. I did not know there was a word for it. This is actually a theory that can be traced back to 19th century scholars and philosophers that states that ghosts are like tape recordings. Our mental energy leaves impressions during our emotional and traumatic events, and these can be projected in a form of energy that are then recorded into rocks and other porous objects and replayed under the right circumstances. So it's not the spirit. It's literally just the energy that was put out in that moment that is reoccurring for us to see. And this is the idea that your house has a memory.
I mean, that's what people say, right? Houses have long memories. They hold it.
They hold the energy.
Old ass house.
It is. And it's more
plaster.
Yeah. That blocks out all the spirits. They bounce right off. They bounce right off the plaster. It kind of differentiates why some places are more haunted than others. Because my Mississippi mud brick house, it's going to hold a lot more energy, a lot more
than my 1980s plywood and drywall house.
Yeah, I was going to say your mid-century ranch.
No, it's not mid-century. I wish. It was
yeah,
built in
but
the
that
late
drywall doesn't leave a lot of room. It's not very porous.
No, it doesn't make this sound. I don't even think you can hear that.
So when it comes to this, certain areas are more conducive for holding this energy.
Certain materials.
Yes, that creates these paranormal phenomenon.
Okay.
And do you want to know what is one of the most energy absorbing rocks or materials in the world?
Yeah, something about me says crystals, because I think like crystals, woo!
They bring energy.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know anything about crystals.
I don't know a lot of houses that are built out of crystals, though.
Yes. Well, you have to think deeper than
Concrete?
that. No, it is actually limestone. And guess what is under us right now?
Limestone?
Miles and miles of limestone
Isn't
caves.
Missouri very like thick and limestone?
Yes. Yeah. That's actually why the Lemps were here in the first place. Missouri has all these caverns underground that were the perfect place for storing beer for it to ferment.
It's cool, dark.
Yes. So all Anheuser-Busch, the Lemps, they all put their beer in the limestone caves. And these caves made of limestone hold energy. And that's why they say Alton, Illinois is one of the most haunted cities.
It's right there on the river.
It's got all limestone. So could it be that this house holds the energy it does because there is a limestone tunnel underneath us running to the brewery in the warehouse?
Limestone, big pores.
Spooky.
I knew big pores were no good.
Yes.
Not on your face, not in the ground.
But in your glass, we like them. So, I mean, there's other types of ghosts, right? Some people suspect ghosts are not humans. This is the one I think I believe in the least, so I'm just going to breeze through it. This is your classic paranormal activity shit. This is, a ghost that was never a human or things that have not been human for so long that they've lost all form of humanity. These include your poltergeist, which is German for loud spirit. They are chaos-loving beings who thrive around those of us who are the most chaotic, aka teenage girls.
Oh, I believe in that bit about like chaos, bringing chaos. Like, because I feel like if you were to look at some of the biggest hauntings in America, it's usually in households that have a lot of turmoil. I feel like people who are in a lot of turmoil or chaos have more likelihood of hearing, seeing, bringing it. Like there's something like a matching energy thing. Like I had a friend, she was a very chaotic person, like a lot of drama in her life. And I feel like she's always like, there was a ghost, there was a ghost, there was a ghost. I think it partly is like she's a little...
not so much grasping reality.
Yeah. A little bit of that. But also, I feel like she's got a lot of chaos in her life. And I feel like ghosts are attracted to that. Yeah. I feel like if any ghosts were in my house, I'd be like, snap, snap, snap. You gotta go, bitch. Bye. You know what I mean? Like,
there's order, there's patterns, there's routine.
It's like, I ain't got time for this shit. If I were haunted, I feel like I have 100% capability to cast that bitch out.
Well, yes. Yeah. I feel like you also have to be open to it, right?
Exactly.
To believe it. So that's why I will probably never see a ghost in my life because I'm never going to want to see a ghost. Truly.
Same.
Because I get scared. Same reason I didn't watch Haunting a Hill House.
It's really good.
And the thing that scared me most when I was watching scary movies as a kid was the kind of ghost that's not a human, but actually a demon. They're the most heavy metal of ghosts.
I was like, what are you doing?
That's my guitar riff. Demons. Blah.
We're doing like the devil horns thing.
Yeah, they're just evil and they want to fuck shit up. I mean,
if you fuck some shit up.
If you believe in angels, you believe in demons.
Yeah.
That's the way of the world.
It's the coin.
Watch out. I think it's also like the least likely of anything because, again, it ties into that religion. I don't believe in religion, but apparently I believe in ghosts. There you go. So then you get into something that's a little bit more fun, a little bit more flirty, a little bit more carefree. And this is one that I find is very interesting. And it is that these ghosts are caused by weak points in reality, aka time slips, which might be something you saw or your husband saw, Laura.
We thought about that, yeah.
Ghost of the living. And this essentially just says that ghosts aren't spirits of the dead at all. They're actually just people living their normal fucking lives in another time or another dimension. And when we see them, we are seeing little wrinkles or little rips in the fabric of reality where we are getting a glimpse into their world.
That is somehow more terrifying. I don't know why, but that to me is even scarier.
I don't know. I think it's really cool. I mean, I was kind of talking with my sister through this because we were like the OG Ghost fans back in the day. And she was like, I think that the time one is interesting, but it doesn't scale. In this building, it makes sense that we might catch a glimpse of one of the lemps living their life. But when you look at the solar system, that doesn't make sense because the Earth would have to be in the same exact location in the same exact spot. So you can't be in January and see somebody in summer because the Earth isn't, there's no overlap there. It's in a different spot. So the time one is cool. It's interesting. Doesn't scale.
Well, I mean, also, why do we always see people like in the early 1900s? Do you know what I mean? Like, people don't see like ghosts from the 2000s with their lowrider jeans and their like juicy pants.
Because they're already haunting us in our closets, those juicy tracksuits.
Exactly.
Oh, no. But yeah, that's a very good point. And then the other piece of that is they're from other realities. And this one I think makes a little bit more sense because these are things that are happening simultaneously on top of our world. If you believe in the multiple dimension thing,
the multiverse.
I mean, didn't Stephen Hawking write about it or something?
I don't know. Smart people, physicists. I don't get it.
It seems crazy to me, and I'm like, you know what? If somebody says it, it's fine. It might have happened. I don't know.
I don't know. Smart people.
But it's kind of funny though because then ghosts aren't really our loved ones. They're just like average Joes walking around. Like you said, your ghost was scared.
Yeah, that's the thing. He said they were he was scared of them.
He was probably like in his basement. He's like, what the fuck are these two?
So he's over there telling his own ghost story about these two weirdos in their basement.
Two young men in my basement.
Yeah,
like,
playing video games.
He didn't even know what a video game was.
Maybe that ghost is from the future. He was like, they were playing this old-timey game.
Like with a hoop and a stick.
Yeah, like, but it's like Sega.
How did they do it for so many hours? I don't know. Can't believe that entertained them. Jeez. But that's exactly illustrating the point is that like the ghosts aren't our dead loved ones, and we might have been ghosts to somebody without even realizing it. We're just walking our lives, doing our stuff, and then somebody catches a glimpse of you in the time slip, and they're like, wow, that was a really weird fucking ghost.
I hope they're catching me like trying to shave my legs, like in the shower. Like I've got my leg up super awkward and I'm like, ow, as I cut myself.
Knowing me, that would be the time I became
that would be the ghost.
They're
that's
like
imprinted.
Wow, that ghost farts a lot.
Just your most awkward
Thanks,
moments.
universe. Thanks for that. So we have these ideas to explain what ghosts are, and some of these are a little bit more rational than others. But the one thing they all have in common is that science can't 100% disprove any of them.
Hell yeah, they can't. That's why it persists. They cannot prove it nor deny it.
That's exactly it. While science can't confirm or deny, it does attempt to explain on its own. So here are some scientific explanations of why we experience ghosts.
Oh, I'm ready for them.
And that first one comes down to sounds, ghost sounds. So we can't physically... Not like that. Not like that. These are sounds that we can't hear. They're not audible to us. The human ear cannot hear below 20 hertz. But we can sense sounds lower than that. These sounds can have a very real effect on our physiology. So an engineer recounted a story to The Guardian, and he said that he spent a night in a lab believed to be haunted. He and his colleagues experienced anxiety and distress, felt cold shivers down their spines, and he even reported seeing a dark blob out of the corner of his eye. It turned out that there was a silent fan creating sound waves at about 19 hertz. So just one below the exact frequency that can cause the human eyeball to vibrate and see optical illusions.
Wow.
And he told The Guardian when we finally switched it off, it was like a huge weight was lifted.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting. So something that's happening just below your perception, you cannot fully recognize it with your eyes or your ears, but your brain knows there's something going on.
There's just something off, yeah. And I think that there's actually a very legitimate reason why this frequency can make us feel so uncomfortable.
Okay.
And it ties back into evolutionary biology because while we can't hear that low, there are a plethora of animals that can vocalize in that range. And that includes whales, elephants, rhinos, but most importantly, tigers. They're making their low roaring sounds. I mean, if we hear it and we get physically uncomfortable, There has to be something involved that says, get the fuck out of there.
Danger McPherson is saying, don't fuck with me.
He's in the house. Laura's persona has appeared in the ghost episode, and he's telling us to get out of there.
Get the fuck out of here, because I'm going to eat your ass.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a whale. Let's face it. We're not being scared of
whales.
whales.
We don't live in the water. We don't give a shit about whales.
I would probably be afraid of an elephant and a rhino, but probably most likely the tiger.
Yeah. But they're so beautiful.
As long as you don't hear them making their low grumbling sounds.
The worst way to die.
So another kind of outside external stimulus that might cause us to report the paranormal is electromagnetic fields. Those very things that we measure in my K2 meter and that you see on every fucking paranormal ghost show. It's the ghost hunters who run around with these little things. They light up.
Yeah.
They're measuring electromagnetic fields. And these fields are a force that consists of both electric and magnetic components. It's in the name. Duh. And it's resulting from the motion of an electric charge and containing a definite amount of electromagnetic energy. What does that mean? I'm not entirely sure.
I don't know.
I copied and pasted it, but it sounded smart as fuck. So these fluctuations in this field, they can make you feel off or, at worst, physically ill. And they can be caused by bad or malfunctioning electricity, or you're celly. When somebody calls your cell phone and you hold a K2 meter up to it, bloop, 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 lights up. I think that's how they faked all the ghost hunters.
Okay, that's an interesting theory. So there's something going on, again, just below like our ability to detect, but there's something primal inside of us that is detecting this that makes us feel weird. I feel like if it were our cell phone or, again, electricity that were making us feel that way, then you would see a lot of increase in these kind of creepy feelings as we enter the age of cell phones and a lot of electricity. But I feel like the rate of reporting creepy ass things has probably been pretty steady, right?
Yeah, I would say it doesn't end or leave. I mean, there's magnetofields before. We just might have different things that are fluctuating them.
Okay.
But their power to affect us is very real. So a neuroscientist in the 1980s, he suspects that these variations in the electromagnetic field are responsible for supposed hauntings. So he tested this theory by having people wear a helmet that delivered weak magnetic stimulation, and 80% of his subjects said they felt an unexplained presence in the room when they wore the helmet.
And gave them all brain cancer.
Yeah, probably. But I mean, there's definitely something going on here. I definitely believe in it. In high school, I did theater. And of course, every theater has a ghost story.
Yeah.
And the one in my high school.
Ours didn't.
Oh. The one in my high school was that a girl died in there. Not true. The year that they said she died in, the theater wasn't built. A lot of ghost stories can be debunked.
They did a really fancy revamp to Hazelwood Central's theater.
When?
In like the mid 90s.
They built it.
Yeah,
it wasn't
because
it wasn't built.
My
before
friend,
that.
like my friend's older sister, was like, "I'm debuting on the new stage," and I went and saw it, and I was like, "Holy fucking shit!"
Yeah, they said that girl died in the 80s. The stage did not exist. That theater was not there in the 80s, guys.
It is a beautiful theater.
It is nice. And when you sat up in the booth, you could understand why people thought there was a ghost. You started getting a little spooked. You started feeling a little uneasy. The hairs on the back of your neck stood
Maybe
up.
all that electronic equipment.
Yeah. What was behind you? 30-year-old electronic equipment. And no doubt, I think I took the K2 meter up there because that's how cool I was in high school, everybody. And it was like off the charts. So people feeling uneasy up there, it's in the dark, you have this change in electromagnetic field. I think it does really contribute to it.
Yeah, but again, back in caveman days, back in pre-electric, how do you explain it then?
Well, there might have been other external factors at work.
Okay.
Like environmental toxins.
Oh.
For example, carbon monoxide.
Oh.
Maybe ghosts, or we are all just getting high as a kite. And no doubt we're more likely to see ghosts when we're under the influence of substances, whether it's alcohol or drugs or hallucinogens.
LSD.
And one of the best examples of that is those Humir hunters in Sudan who took down the giraffes.
Call back to the giraffes.
I did at the very beginning. Part of their ritual involved consuming giraffe liver, which has DMT as well as other psychoactive components in it. So after they consumed it, they start hallucinating, and that's when they see the spirit of the giraffe that they just killed.
Eat the giraffe liver, poisoned by toxins, see said giraffe.
There you go.
Seems very logical.
So
very
yeah,
circular.
Yeah, it does. And you know, because it's top of mind, all you thought about all day was giraffe. Gotta kill giraffe.
Gotta eat this giraffe liver.
You wake up going giraffe. You get out there, you're like taking your morning dump. You're like giraffe, and then you finally get the giraffe, and you're like giraffe. Yeah, and then you eat it. You're like giraffe, giraffe, and then all of a sudden,
oh my god, giraffe spirit.
And the giraffes are on parade around you. It makes sense.
It does.
Another more recent case, as in 1921, this involved Mrs. H. So she and her family moved into an old house and they began experiencing what they thought was paranormal activity. There was the sound of footsteps, strange voices, and even the feeling like they were being held down in their bed by unseen persons. Meanwhile, all the houseplants were dying. That's because Mrs. H was getting her fucking monarchy all over them, just touching them when she was bleeding. Pliny, that's a throwback to Pliny.
She was menstruating, touching those plants.
Yes. Yeah. They didn't look at that, did they? No. But so her plants were dying. Her children felt weak, and everybody was suffering from headaches. A quick investigation revealed that the fucking furnace was faulty and filling the house with carbon monoxide. Luckily, there was no smokers. And so carbon monoxide poisoning can cause hallucinations as well as sickness, explaining all the symptoms that Mrs. H and her family were experiencing. And after the furnace was repaired, the hauntings stopped.
Well, that's one case, though.
I'm sure there are others.
We all have carbon monoxide testers in our house.
Nowadays,
right?
when we replace them with electromagnetic fields.
Oh, fair point.
And before that, it was just fucking dark. Nothing more dangerous than our minds.
Yeah, fair point.
And speaking of nothing more dangerous than our minds, one of the other scientific explanations for ghosts is sleep paralysis, which is where your mind royally fucks you over because it wakes up before your body wakes up.
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah, I've never had it, knock on wood.
Nope.
But I hear it's really bad. And it essentially just means your body is paralyzed because when you're in your deepest sleep, your body is shut down. Otherwise, you start enacting what you're dreaming. Mm-hmm. And it's called sleepwalking, folks, which I also did in that haunted house. Never have since. So
eyebrows went up, guys.
I remember I was having a dream that she did something to Cody and she took him into her room and she did something bad to him. I literally wake up banging on her door and she had it locked. I'm yanking on the door.
You woke up doing that?
Yes.
That's horrifying.
My other roommate came and she was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I was asleep. I'm sorry. I was asleep."
Oh, Jesus.
And then I went back to bed. Because I remember, somehow I was awake enough to remember what was happening. I know I got up, I looked into Cody's crate, and he wasn't in there. And my brain was like, "Your friend did something to the dog."
Night's scary.
Yeah, I did not like living there. But we made it through.
Maybe it's low electronic fields.
I mean, it was a shitty old house. It probably had carbon monoxide and electromagnetic fields and bad sound coming off a shitty radiator. It was a trifecta of spooky. But anyways, those are some of the scientific explanations for it. I don't know. What do you think? Did any of these sticking with you more than any of the other ones?
As always, I'm the perpetual annoying middleman. I could never make a fucking decision. You know, like a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B, right? That there's something spooky going on and or some logical explanations. It's why I don't believe every ghost story I hear.
Yeah.
But I believe some of them.
There you go. And I drew a specific line in the sand when I looked at the scientific explanations I kept in this segment. And these are all things that happened externally. These are all external forces that are working on us. When at the heart and soul, ghosts are coming from here and here. I put it at my head and my heart. And we're going to get into what those forces are after the break, when we finally dig into the rude question, why can we not let go of ghosts? Why does the belief in them persist to this day? When we come back.
So we have all these seemingly logical reasons why we believe in ghosts, but this ethereal, unexplainable perception of ghosts persists. Why is that?
Well, that is the core of the question today, and we are going to dig into it. Because ghosts, maybe they come from the ether or the other side or something along those lines. Maybe they come from external factors that are altering our senses that we're not picking up on, that we can't rationally explain, or things that are just making us fucking hallucinate by depriving our brain of oxygen.
Like giraffe liver.
Yeah, something like that. I don't think it comes from really either of those two places, but I think it comes from inside of us and our connection to other humans. And that's what we're going to dig into, because that's what makes our species so special, is our big sexy brains and our ability to relate to one another.
Always seeking the social aspect.
Yes, exactly. And that gets to the first point of why we still believe in ghosts. And that is that we're just so fucking suggestible. We believe each other, right? We inherently believe people who are talking to us.
Do we? Because I feel like I listen to people and I'm like, wah, wah, I don't believe that.
Well, maybe the difference is some people you can tell when they're talking out their ass, but when somebody comes to you with a ghost story, they're usually very genuine in it, right? Yeah. Like, you can tell the ghost stories that are puffed up versus the ones somebody fully believes happened to them. So when somebody comes to you with that genuine belief, that carries some weight. And that's proven in a study that was published in the Frontiers in Psychology journal. And this study found that suggestion is strong enough to make people believe they witnessed a supernatural event. I'm not surprised. We're followers. We're a bunch of cattle.
It's
sheeple. Hey. So in this study, participants watched a video of a purported psychic supposedly bending a key with his mind. The people who were exposed to a positive social influence, meaning that they had a plant in the audience who was like, yep, saw that man bend the key with his mind. Yeah. So people who were exposed to that were more likely to say they saw the key bend too. And participants who were in a room with a naysayer and skeptics, they were more likely to doubt the validity of the trick. But just one person's confident assertion held the difference between whether it was a room full of believers or a room full of skeptics.
I believe it. I feel like that experiment has been performed in a lot of different permeations, and it always shows the same thing. You doubt yourself when you're given a lot of other people who feel the other way. So that definitely tracks to me. It's definitely happened a few other times, but then what causes that one person who's not a plant to say that they did see the thing?
Well, they could have been somebody who is sensitive to the sound or sensitive to those external things, or somebody who just is more prone to believing those kind of things. Okay. And a whole generation of us might have been primed for this, because a way that indicates whether we're going to be suggestible is whether it comes from a credible. This was demonstrated in another study. When it comes to these credible sources, we're much more inclined to believe it. So our generation, growing up watching Ghost Hunters and all these other...
I didn't grow up watching Ghost Hunters.
Well, I mean, a lot of people watch Ghost Hunters. It was a popular show. It was on for a lot of seasons. Anyways, so when you have these people on TV on a credible channel talking about ghosts, treating them like they're real, they become real to the rest of us because it's a credible source. So would I have been as into Ghost if my family had not watched Ghost Hunters? Who knows? But because of that, I am more suggestible to the concept of it.
Okay. I mean, that makes sense to me.
When it comes down to it, we might believe in ghosts simply because one person does. And this could be one person who believes they saw something, or someone who's sensitive to those other external things. And then, boom, our experience is created by it.
Which is true, right? They say perception creates reality. So if we are also social beings who say whatever everyone else feels is also what I feel, so all it takes is one person to change the whole thing. I mean, I was listening to a podcast recently on the Salem witch trials and about how quickly that can spiral and change the way everyone is seeing things. Now this is all just making me depressed. It's just thinking about how much of little lemmings we all are.
I wouldn't say it's depressing. It's just what makes us who we are. Sure, we might have arrived to the same conclusions of our own, but the fact that everybody else around me says working a full-time job sucks, it kind of taints my opinion of getting up every morning at 6 a.m. to go sit at a desk for 9 hours a day. It sucks.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm buying all this. I feel like this can explain some of the things, but I think I'm still believing in ghosts.
That's not to say that these ghosts or the experiences that we have with ghosts are any less real. But if you subscribe to this way of thinking, we just create our own ghost. It doesn't make them any less legitimate.
If perception is reality.
Yeah, if one person says, I saw a ghost there, and then somebody went in there and was like, yep, saw it too. There's a ghost there.
No, I do believe in objective reality. That's the thing. I do believe that there is an objective truth in the world. Whether or not we can see it, it does exist.
I don't believe that's the case at all.
No,
we don't even. Who's to say my green is the same as your green? Now we're getting into some late
typical,
night,
high conversation.
There is no objective reality, man.
No, there is. It's just maybe outside of our perception sometimes.
Who's to say that anything exists at all? This could all just be a simulation.
I don't believe that at all.
You might not exist, Laura.
Oh, I exist.
Yeah, you say that.
I'm kind of spinny right now.
That's
totally
exactly
exist.
what my brain Laura would say in this moment. So prove that wrong. You can't.
That's what I'm saying. It's this whole fuzzy reality bullshit that I don't get behind.
Anyways, the moral of the story isn't that reality is fake and there's no truth. It is that we're suggestible.
Isn't it? If the truth is we're suggestible, I think that is the
thing, is that whatever we're spitting into this microphone is the truth, because you are listening to us sounding so clear and crisp on these microphones that we are an authority figure. We have credibility and our words are reality.
Electro Voice, bringing you reality.
That's some good shit right there. Okay, so that's one theory. Another piece is that we humans, God bless us, we take the path of least resistance. We're not known for going the hard way, and that's a survival mechanism.
Absolutely.
And it really comes down to the reactionary versus the rational brain. And this is just another leftover vestigial piece of our caveman days where we're evolved to be reactive. Like, I think you've talked about this, Laura, in several podcasts a long time ago, where if you hear the bushes rustling, you don't want to stand there and deductively reason if it's a lion or not.
Investigate. What's going on in this bushes?
Yeah,
You get the fuck out of there.
Oh, it might be 4:00 in the afternoon and the lions are usually sleeping at this time, so it's probably not a lion, but it might be because I saw one the other. That doesn't keep you alive. What keeps you alive is clearing the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
So we default to reaction because it's worked for us.
Yeah.
But that reaction might flex too far the other way and be what is leading us to believing in ghost. So, humans, we have a superpower, and it's that we're really good at seeing patterns. And we are really good at deriving meaning from things that don't have it.
I believe in this, yeah.
Yes. So there's a word called patternicity, and that is our ability to create false connections in unrelated or meaningless data. For example, I was talking about my great-grandmother, and there was a bang on the wall. So that must be her coming to visit us or acknowledging us.
Or that thing where you buy a new car and then all of a sudden you see 1,000 of those new cars is like you've never been looking for that new car before. You draw parallels between you, like, oh, there's so many more of these because I bought it. No, there's always been the same amount. You're just now noticing it.
Yes. Yeah. So the patternicity specifically is looking at like reoccurring or patterns in the world around you, right? So we're programmed to see that and it pops out, and that's what lets us believe that there is some kind of order to what's happening when it's really random. When you take it the step further, in addition to seeing patterns, those patterns don't have a lot of weight until you assign them meaning, which is what we're equally good at doing, is we are good at creating meaning around things that are random. So not only are you seeing those cars, like you said, but then you're seeing, oh, they must become more popular. Or I look at my phone and it's 11:11, so something good must be coming. Yeah. But as equally good at seeing patterns and creating meaning, we are really fucking good at seeing human faces.
Absolutely. I see it all the time. I was looking at something in the shower the other day and I'm like, oh, that looks like perfectly like a human woman. Like the way that like the pattern was like dripping, and I couldn't unsee it. Like once I saw it, I kept looking away and looking back and looking away and looking back. I kept seeing this perfect human figure in the droplets.
There you go.
Yeah. It's just something that we do.
We're programmed to find it. Yeah. Growing up, my parents had knotty pine in our hall bathroom, and we would just, when we cleaned it, when we would sit on the toilet, I guess, or like take baths,
totally.
You would sit there and look at all the knots in the...
And find faces.
And you could see the faces.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are really good at it. And there's actually a word for this. And it is called pareidolia. And this is just assigning meaning to those random things like seeing faces in the smudge in your shower or in the knotty pine or in a photo of a moon rock from NASA. Yeah.
Or a blurry photograph.
Yes, and that is where it comes to ghost. You see it a lot in smudges and things in the black background. Even overexposed light and dark kind of splotches can take on the shape or the likeness of a person. So I think that's just another layer to why we are designed to see these specters in the world around us. And playing into that is also the intentionality bias that really ties into what we talked about before, that we are inclined to believe there's a reason or a purpose for everything. That bush isn't just swaying because it feels like swaying. There's something making it move. Mm-hmm. And it does me good to respond to it and to say that that has a meaning. So that
it does you good because you're going to run the hell away from it.
Well, yeah, that we're assuming that it means something. So that banging in the wall isn't just my pipes expanding and contracting because of heat. It has meaning. And it is my grandmother banging on the wall to let me know she's there.
Okay. So basically what I'm picking up here is that all of basically the things that have made humans thrive has also made them see these things because we seek patterns, because we seek meaning, because we see human faces, because of our super social nature. All of these come together is the reason why people have seen ghosts throughout human history and beyond.
Exactly. Like you think about every strong man, right? He exercises, he lifts weights, he has giant muscles. But the flip side of that is he might crush a wine glass when he picks it up because he doesn't realize his own strength. There's just something that overcompensates for a muscle that we've built up. And at the end of the day, we live in a world with meaning. And if we can't explain something, like we talked about those unrecognizable changes to our environment, whether it's from a sound, whether it's from electromagnetic fields, when that happens and we pick up on it and we can't explain it, we make a reason that explains it. So that could be a big piece of why we still hold on to the belief in ghost. Another reason is a lot more simple and a lot more sad.
Great.
Yeah, it's a Halloween episode, having fun. Let's talk about mortality. And it's the fact that we just can't wrap our minds around it. We cannot come to understand ceasing to exist. And this goes all the way back to Big Talk episode number 1. Death, where we cannot comprehend our own deaths.
Our own demise, not existing, being beyond.
Yeah, our brain just simply can't understand it and protects itself. When we try to think about it, it kind of bounces you out. Like a computer, it's like, boom,
blue screen.
Yeah, close that file. And it can't even fathom it. So that ghost or a continuation of that fear or the inability to comprehend mortality.
These are all very convincing arguments, Rachel. A+ on all your research.
Well, thank you. It took me hours.
You did a great job.
Well, thank you.
And I think all of this really sums up a lot of the reasons why I'm really skeptical of 99% of the ghost stories that I hear. Because most of them I'm like, logical explanation right on the bat, or you're seeing meaning where there is nothing. I'm like, no, that's something that can be explained away by your own preconceived notions of that you're going to see a ghost and these kinds of things. That's how I can explain most of the ghost stories that I hear. But again, I go back. It's like that thing that Austin saw and Steve saw at the same time. It's like two things corroborated at the exact same time. And I'm just like, these are two people I love and trust and know, and I can't explain all of it. I think it can explain a lot of the ghost stories that you hear, but not all of them.
Well, and I think that's really what ghosts come down to, right? That there is still that sliver that is unexplainable, that we might never have an explanation for.
What about that audio clip that you had?
I can't explain it. Yeah. It is outside of my realm to understand.
We got an audio recording. It's not carbon monoxide or toxins or electromagnetic fields.
Yeah, I recorded that in 2013. And today I can listen to it almost a decade later and it sounds exactly the same.
Yeah.
So there is still the unexplainable in the world. But that is the minority. Like you said, most of these experiences can be rationalized.
Yeah.
They can be explained away. So why do they still persist and permeate our society, our stories, our culture, the things that we consume? And I have my truest belief of why we just cannot let ghosts go. And it is because it's just fucking fun. I love Ghost. It's fun. It's exciting. It's no secret that humans enjoy a good scare every now and then. I mean, hello, that's what spooky season is all about. And there's a couple reasons that we enjoy a good scare, right? One, we like to prove to ourselves that we can overcome it. We can power through. We're stronger than our fear. And there's a hormonal component, right? When it comes to fear and enjoyment, this reaction we get when we're exposed to a threat or crisis.
Or just like roller coasters, that a high.
Yes, it's that high. It's the adrenaline rush of fight or flight. And it can be addicting and it's fun and it lets us explore that fear and that adrenaline rush in a safe environment. When you're safe around your campfire with your friends and your loved ones and your family. And now, especially in a world where most of us are safe 99.5% of the time. And that 0.5% of the time we're unsafe is behind the wheel of a car because cars are death traps. Don't buy it. Don't get it. But we're very safe. So having these ghost stories lets us, the same as true crime, steam. Same as horror movies, lets us play in danger without really being in danger. And then finally, to me, I just fucking like the idea of mystery, that 1% is out there that we can't explain. And it's what we can talk about with a friend late at night in a haunted house.
I feel like that's where I lay, that 99% of them can be explained by science or by human psychology. But there are some things that are just beyond that scientific reach. And maybe they will. In 50 years and 100 years, science will be able to explain that 1%. But as of right now, they still can't. And so that's where my core belief lies, is that they do exist in some fashion. And until repeatable, peer-reviewed research can say this is why, this is how, 100%, I still believe in ghosts.
And I'm right there with you. I believe in ghosts in the way that I believe in humans, right? And ghosts will always exist as long as we're here for literally every reason we talked about, because we need to believe in our ancestors. We need to know their stories carried on because we are afraid of the dark and because we fill it with our fears and our hopes and our wishes, to quote Haunting of Hill House. And because we share what we experience in those moments with each other, and it leads to it becoming real or other people experiencing it. And whether that's 99% coming from us or 1% mystery of the universe, it's all still fucking enjoyable to explore and to talk about and be scared by. And to me, that's why we are still obsessed with ghosts and we still believe in ghosts even after all these millennia.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
And I feel like that is about as much as we can talk about it.
And we've talked about it for a good long time. And we've got our electric candles going. We're here in the haunted house. There's been no appearances thus far.
And this conversation makes me, for now, I feel pretty comfortable here. I feel pretty confident.
I feel very comfortable
going to sleep tonight. But again, that'll change as soon as we get done recording. We each go to our own room and we call it a night.
Whatever. I'm going to take my Xanax and my Tylenol PM.
Laura, you're going to wake up. I'll be sleeping in the king size bed with you. Be like, I couldn't sleep. I was scared. But right now, when I just think about all these things and think about those Excel files waiting for me, and it just pushes
don't think about those.
all
Fuck
the
those.
ghosts away.
That's what you're going to be doing in your afterlife, is just Excel spreadsheets and PowerPoint presentations.
Me and Ramses. He's toiling in the barley field, and I'm making pivot tables.
Oh, Jesus.
And on that note, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Thank you for listening. We hope you had a good time. We sure did. If you want more Impolite Society, make sure to follow us on all of our socials.
We got the TikToks, we got the Instagrams, we got the Facebooks, and we got a Facebook group, The Impolite Society. You should join us. We have some convos going on about the latest episodes.
Yeah, join it and share your ghost stories and your ghost evidence. I'm excited to see it and pour over it and disprove it.
No, don't listen to her.
No. And of course, send us your own rude questions at rude@impolitesocietypodcast.com. We dig into listener submitted questions. Send us your dirtiest, your rudest, your tabooest questions. And we might spend a couple hours talking about that.
And most importantly, guys, if you enjoyed this conversation, you know you have buddies that would enjoy this exact same thing. That is how independent podcasts grow, by you recommending it to a friend, because you are the kind of person that are interested in this science, in the sociology, in the history of these topics. So recommend us to a friend. Send us your deep. Send us your curious. Send us your weird.
Give your friend a nice Halloween gift of an hour and a half of conversation about ghosts. And honestly, at this point, if you've listened to this whole episode, I mean, if you don't tell a friend about it, you're kind of stealing. Like, this is the cost of admission, is to tell somebody about it if you made it this far.
Yeah.
So do it.
Die.
Por favor. Okay. Well, this is about it for us. I think we got to wrap it up.
We got to wrap this shit up.
It's our heart pounding again because the drums are back. We got to go, and thank you for listening. Oh.
And we're going to go explore the Lit Mansion even more. We're going to go to that creepy attic.
Middle of the night.
Middle of the night being 10, 11.
This is a late for me.
It is me too.
Okay, happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Bye.
We love you. Bye. That's not a ghost.